I'm sure you've heard of a Michelin star restaurant before. And as a foodie, I look out for these things. And I was actually at a restaurant with one of my friends that was a Michelin star. And she asked me what Michelin star meant. And she was absolutely flabbergasted when I told her it was actually the tire company like Michelin that is in charge of the Michelin stars. So I explained the story to her, and I thought I'd explain it to you guys in case you didn't know the history behind it, or that it was in fact part of the Michelin tire company. Because what do tires have to do with food? It's actually a very, very interesting story, but I'll give you the whole background in general so you guys can get a grasp of what Michelin star is actually. So as I said, it starts with the Michelin tire company. It all started in France in a super small town in 1889. So this is a really old concept. The tire company was founded then when tires weren't even a big thing. There was only like 3,000 cars in the country at that time. But they wanted people to drive more because the more you drive, the more you use your tires, the more tires you buy. So to boost all of that, they decided to make a small guide on handy information for travelers, like maps, information, restaurants, gas stations, where they can go. It was a small red guide. And for 2 decades, so 20 years, all that information came and it was free. So all these guides were free, telling people where to go, what was worth seeing, where they can stop for gas, etc., etc. And then one day, one of the brothers, so Michelin, the tire company, was owned by 2 brothers. One day, the brother went into the tire shop and he saw that all of his guides were being stacked to help prop up something, and they weren't actually being used as a Michelin guide. So once he saw that, he was like, people take stuff for free for granted, and which is true. So they decided to make people pay for these guides. I think in 1920 they started selling it for like 7 francs. I'm not sure exactly what the equivalent of that today now is. So in 1920 it started to get more bougie, I would say, because you had to start paying for these guides, and the only people that would pay were okay to spend more money on things like hotels, restaurants, and then different categories. And you can also have advertisements inside these guides. So these guides actually started to grow and become a big thing in France and then later throughout the world. So in 1926, which was like 6 years later, the guide started to award stars to fine dining restaurants. It only started with 1 star, and then 5 years later, they developed the 3-star category, which is what it is now. So in 1936, the criteria for starring ranks were published. So if you're not sure, 1 star means it's a good restaurant, 2 stars means it's worth a detour, and 3 stars means it's worth traveling out of your way for. So during the 20th century, thanks to its unique approach, the Michelin Guide became one of the best sellers around the world and started rating Michelin restaurants around the world as well. So when you hear of like a 1-star Michelin restaurant, 2-star, it's definitely for fine dining nowadays. It's not just like general restaurants and diners, but the guide now has over 40,000 establishments in over 24 territories across 3 continents. So a lot of cities you might not see it, but in huge cities and big cities, like obviously New York and Japan and Dubai, they would have Michelin starred restaurants. And right now, the founding brothers have given the company the new ranking of Michelin stars. So it started off with tires because they wanted people to drive more, and then it ended up like this. You know, talk about changing and readjusting your business. So they have multiple streams of income now with this Michelin star rating system, because you can also do advertisements in the guide and stuff. So that's the story of the Michelin stars. And my friend, when I was explaining this to her, she thought it was so cool and just had no idea that all of this was connected. And she thought it was just a coincidence that they were both named Michelin. But yeah, so Michelin starred restaurants are connected to this tire company because they want you to drive more, or that's initially how it started. But I hope you enjoy this recipe compilation of what I'm making. Obviously, I'm not a Michelin star chef yet, but I hope one day I can be, and I hope that you guys enjoy all my recipes and support me to becoming a Michelin starred chef one day.